Greetings, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Dreamscapes. Today, we have our friend Barbie Ingle of barbieingle.com, and that'll be in a link in the description below. But first, before we get to our guest, housekeeping, please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. I always need more volunteers to share their dreams. Please support my work. Direct donations accepted always. T-shirts, coffee mug, tote bag, books. I got 10 currently available books of historical dream literature, working on book 11 and a concurrent audiobook release. That's the housekeeping. That's enough of that. Barbie, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Benjamin. I'm so glad to be here, and I'm looking forward to this time with you.
Me too. It's a very, very festive setup. I like your tree back there. That's very nice.
Thank you. I actually leave a tree up all year round. It's like a Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, all the good things of the year.
That is cool. One. My wife and I are more no, I shouldn't say that. I'm going to keep that private. But our favorite holiday is Halloween. So we eventually plan to kind of permanently decorate the house in a kind of faux Gothic Nightmare Before Christmas-ish vibe. Yeah. At some point, my background's not entirely creative. These are the doors of my garage. I'm out in my garage here, and I got my bookshelf there. A little subtle hint to buy a book. So I do want to spell it out though. Say for podcaster folks, it's Barbie, BARBY, Ingle, INGLE, barbieingle.com. And then if you would maybe just say a few words about who you are and what you do.
Sure. I am a health advocate. I work with patients that have chronic pain. Before that, I was the head cheerleading and dance coach at Washington State University, and I owned my own cheerleading and dance training company. I trained my whole life to be a cheerleader, and I was in an accident and was physically disabled. I still am. I go in and out of remission, but that life changed me from a physical cheerleader to a mental cheerleader. So now I help motivate and cheer on other people to and through whatever challenges that they face. And I've been an author. I've appeared in multiple reality television shows, and I just share my journey so it helps other people. So I'm excited to be here.
Very cool. Yeah. And that's actually a fantastic, principle. And I've even commented on this idea recently, which is that integrating trauma in a way is a process of, say, taking something bad that happened to you and transforming it into a positive. So I like the way you express that of, going from a physical cheerleader to a mental cheerleader. You actually maintained a consistency of your passion and just transformed it into another form, instead of saying, my life's over. What I really wanted to do is done. That's the end of everything I'm capable of. If anyone gets stuck there, your life is over. But it's kind of a choice. In that moment, you got to choose to go in a different direction. And it is a choice. I don't want to blame the victim in that sense, but the idea of you have to look at it as a choice, that you do have a choice, that there's something different you can do, and also the idea in psychology that say some of the best alcohol and drug counselors are former addicts. Let me tell you how I kicked it, and that idea of some of the best therapists have been through depression. They know what suicidal thoughts are like, and they're able to say, not just I sympathize, but I feel you. I really do. I've been there. Yeah, I've been there. That's a powerful message too, is so people can connect with that. So, well, enough rambling from me. What we're going to do is, as per my usual process, I'm going to shut up. We're going to have our friend Barbie tell us her dream, and we're going to see what we can make of it. So I'm ready when you are.
Okay. So this is a dream I had about a week ago, and I don't really know the meaning of it yet, but I'm sure you're going to help me with that. I was swimming with a group of friends. They weren't really like specific friends. It just was a group of friends, but they were all encouraging and cheering me on. And we're playing around in the pool, and they said, "Oh, we built this little bridge down at the bottom of the pool, and we're going down and swimming underneath it and out the other side, and it's really fun, and you should do it." And they all were like, "Go, go, go! You can do it, Barbie." And so I'm like, "All right, I've swam pretty much my whole life. I can do this." And I dive down, and I start to go through the bridge, and I get stuck going through the bridge, and I'm struggling. I'm clawing, fighting to try to get through the bridge and get out and get back up for air. And I woke up in real life gasping for air because I couldn't get out from underneath that bridge. In my dream, I never got out from underneath that bridge. And I really don't know what it means, but it definitely took my breath away, as if I was literally holding my breath swimming down, and woke up and like tried to take the deepest breath I could to get my air back for how long I was holding it while I was under the water.
Yeah. Wow. And then that's when you woke up, and that's the entirety of the dream. And I say this to folks.
There's more details, but
no, we're going to get into that for sure. But this is what I tell folks, is that the telling of the dream, just the basic elements, can take 90 seconds, and we get an hour and a half episode out of it. Who knows? That's magic to me.
Right.
But yeah, for sure. But the idea of waking up, gasping for breath. So I'm reading all this historical dream literature, not to just plug my books, but I'm actually getting, I'd say, a next level education in this by reading all of the historical documents on it. Hopefully, I was just thinking about this the other night too, that every time I find a reference from one author citing another author's work on dreams, I go find that book, and that goes on my list of things to republish. And so hopefully soon my entire catalog will be, if you've read this book and it references this book, I also have that, and they kind of cross-reference each other sometimes. But okay, long story short, my autism's showing here. The idea of so one of the authors, I think this is Robert McNish in is book 12 I'm working on. He talks about a variety of physical causes that are concurrent with, and there's kind of a reflexive relationship with it. So with waking up in certain states. So the idea of gasping for breath, he relates maybe to physical causes, maybe to mental, but in a lot of people, there is a physical cause. So I was wondering if there was a sensation, physical sensations you woke up with, such as, dry throat, your face was in the pillow, anything that might have been concurrent with that experience.
Yeah, I have valley fever.
What is that?
The valley fever is a fungal infection that is found. It's a fungus that's in our soil in the southwest of the United States. And I've had it for a little over 2 years. And when I first got it, I got valley fever pneumonia, and it actually damaged my lung. So I have permanent lung damage. But this past month, since like November of this year, I started having an exacerbation of the fungal infection. So it's been active this whole time, but it got better. Now it's got worse again. Now it's starting to get better. But I have been having trouble with the coughing and breathing while I'm awake.
Okay.
So
yeah,
so sure. There is a physical reason. And I also have damage to my lungs. I had a surgery almost 20 years ago. And the doctor took out a rib. And when he did that, he made a mistake, and he punctured my lung, and I had 5 lung collapses, including a full lung collapse from that surgery. So that caused lung damage as well. Okay,
good deal. So that would be in someone who's seriously considering the full range of possibilities of things. One would perhaps want to take into account the idea that physical causes may be causes, but may just be concurrent experiences, and that may help create or inform the dream, parts of it, but then that the dream also might work with that physical stimulus in a way that just starts the process, and the other material is not directly related to that or caused by it. So this, we would say, maybe possibly the dream was inspired or related to that experience of having a difficulty breathing in sleep, but that the entire dream content was not purely created by that. That's kind of the direction I would go with it, because there's definitely more elements.
Right. Like, why was I swimming? What is this bridge thing? And
for sure. No, yeah. And so what else would I say about that? Just briefly, again, I'm reading these books, my head's full of these ideas. There was a guy who, he was prone to nightmares of a skeleton choking him, that specific imagery. And so he was like a captain in the Royal Navy or something in England, 1700s. And he actually hired a guy to make sure to wake him up the moment he fell asleep. He's like, I don't want to have this experience. Just wake me up. And so he was sitting there one night and drifted off into sleep and was having the experience of the skeleton, and immediately, and then he was awakened and he was mad at this guy. He's like, how could you let me sleep for so long? That skeleton was choking me for hours. And he's like, you blinked and I shook you. And the dream, this long experience of microseconds in the real world lasted hours in his mind at that moment. And so that reminded me of that as well. It's like you could have had a brief moment of difficulty breathing, and this entire dream that felt like however long it took could have been inspired by that.
Absolutely. And I said, when I had my lung collapse, I wasn't dreaming, or maybe I was, but I had a near-death experience where exactly what you're describing. It was like my whole life to that point flashed before me. It was like 1,000 pictures with 1,000 words, but it was instantaneous. Yeah. And I understood all of it at the same time, but it was my whole life.
Yeah. There's an expression, the speed of thought. And some of us think we think slowly and some of us do, but it's more of our process of arriving at specific conclusions and thinking through a problem maybe takes a long time, but thoughts themselves are lightning quick. I mean, the speed of microns of nerve endings firing off. So, yeah, I find all this stuff fascinating. I don't know what to make of it.
That is fascinating. I'm going to be taking notes. This is news.
Well, wonderful. Yeah, I mean, we're also recording. You can go back and watch it, but please take notes.
Oh yeah, it's okay too. Yeah, I'll do that.
No, either way, please take notes if you want to.
I forgot.
And for folks that are watching out there, is this whole process is just loosey goosey. We talk about whatever. We do the dream thing, but we're just whatever comes up. We'll talk about it. There's no stress, no pressure. So this is all par for the course. Okay, but getting back to the actual dream. So the first thing you remember in the dream was being in the water or on the edge of a pool in the area. What?
I was in the water and there was 5 or 6 friends around me and everyone's just laughing, having fun, talking. And then one of them says, hey, we built this bridge and we're going down and swimming through it. It's easy. We're all able to make it through. You can make it through too. So the encouragement to, hey, we did this. Let's, be a part of it. And I don't think that they sabotaged it in any way. I think I just got stuck going through. I don't really know.
That seems to be your experience of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
for sure. Well, what I wanted to get to
like a fun party type of atmosphere above the water. Below the water was quiet, peaceful until I couldn't make it the rest of the way through.
Yeah. So you're on the surface, so to speak, or head above water, and you're experiencing this with people there. Do you remember anything about the surroundings? It was
indoor nighttime. It was nighttime.
Indoor, outdoor pool.
Outdoor pool, nighttime. You could see the stars in the sky, and there was lights around the pool, and everybody was laughing, having fun.
Do you remember you're in the deep end treading water, or you are standing in the shallow end?
No, I was standing in the shallow end, but when I dived down, I didn't have to move into the deep end to dive down. I just went down. And all of a sudden it was no longer shallow. It was just free to go.
Okay. Any sudden impressions of actual places you've been, actual pools you swam at in the past? Certain places you've done therapy, or places you were at as a kid?
No, it wasn't a pool I can ever remember being in or being a part of.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I did night swim as a child.
Yeah.
Even as an adult, we have a pool and a hot tub but it didn't look like the same place in my dream. My dream was a new place.
Gotcha. And so every one of these elements is if it's at night, it's not in the day. It's not indoors, it's outdoors. It's not a place you've been. It is a new place.
Yeah.
I think all of these elements are your brain setting up the scenario in a way. Think about this thing in this context, kind of. And it would mean something different if it was a specific place from your childhood or was an indoor place versus an outdoor place. I don't know what these things mean yet. Of course, we're trying to get to them. We may never get to them. We'll see. But something about that is setting up the scenario to say, think of it in this way. Now here's what happens in that environment. So this is kind of my process. This is where my brain starts going, what are these little elements like this and not that? Why? And you said there were maybe 5 or 6 friends, and they were not specific known people.
Right. They in the dream, they were my friends, but they didn't have names or faces. They just were all happy and friendly, and I felt like they were my friends, but they didn't it wasn't specific people that I was like going to do something with. It was people that were friendly in the pool with me, and we were all having a good time.
Yeah. Any sense of the characteristics of the people, sex, age?
A mixture of men and women, about the same age as me. And I felt like I had known them for a long time, but it wasn't anybody specific. I can't say like, oh, it was specifically this person was with me. It was just a group of people.
Okay. Yeah. And that too, this is where I start making these little carrots, like, well, come back to that maybe. So again, the idea of a new environment you've never been in, maybe a familiar type of environment, but someplace you haven't been specifically, and a familiar feeling of camaraderie, friendship, a group of friends together doing something, people you felt you've had a long or established relationship with, but not specific known person. So it's telling you, look at this idea of friendship, look at this idea of being in a new place, but a familiar type of place. So giving you a lot of these partial clues to the setup, so to speak. And I wanted to get maybe a little bit more into the specifics of what they said to you. So can you think of all the range of the things people said to you? Like you did say specifically,
you can do it. It's so fun. Try it. It was positive encouragement to have me participate in the activity with all my friends. Yet when I went down, they were all still above, like watching. And when I was struggling, nobody came down to help me. I was struggling by myself, but it was like, but when they were going down, I didn't pay attention to what they were doing. They were just diving down and coming back up, and everybody's laughing and saying, "Oh, that was fun. Oh, Barbie, you can do it. You should go down there. Give it a try."
So there was also the experience of, before they encouraged you to do it, they demonstrated. They had already been doing it.
They had been doing it, but I hadn't really focused in on what they were doing down there. And then somebody said, "Hey, we're doing this. You should do it." And then everyone's like, "Yeah, Barbie, you can do it."
Okay, so you just to review in my mind, you appear in the dream. Bam, you're in the water, but you're standing. Yep. At least your feet are on the ground, your head's above water. There's this visual observance of people demonstrating, or just the knowing that they
them going under the water and popping back up, and people laughing and talking, and like friendly experience. Very much a party atmosphere, maybe.
Yeah.
Except for without the alcohol. There's no, it wasn't like a party. It was just a pool party more than a adult drinking party.
For sure. Yeah. And you said people were similar to your own age. Did you have a sense of your age in the dream? Just current?
Same, about in my 40s.
Okay. Good deal. And so there was at least a demonstration on their part of going through the motions of this activity that they were successful in. And do you remember which persons were saying what to you? Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but was it mostly the women encouraging, mostly the men?
No, I think everybody was encouraging, but a woman was the first one to say, look, we built a bridge down there, or they built a bridge down there. we are all swimming underneath it. You haven't, like, basically I hadn't gone yet and all these other people had gone, and it's fun and I should be doing it too, and go ahead and dive down. And but it was a woman who started that, but everybody around was happy, encouraging, positive. If we can do it, you can do it type of feeling.
Okay. And I think that's very important too, that idea of you did not get a sense of malice. It wasn't like you could see someone being tricky or subversive in their eyes or anything like that. It was all genuine encouragement. It's interesting that this particular group of friends built a bridge. And that when you were telling me this off camera, I'm like, a bridge under water, at the bottom of the water. Bridge would normally go over water. Why? This is something completely different. No sense of why they built a bridge specifically, or why would they would put it underwater? No,
Matt, when you point it out, it's like, why was it a bridge underwater? That's odd, but that's what they built. They built a bridge under the water.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's why my brain's dwelling on that a little bit. Just this idea of why this thing. It's something out of place. The bridge would normally go over the water, and of course, my mind goes to cliches of a bridge over troubled water. Well, this one's under happy water,
right?
Because there's a party atmosphere in this pool of people friendly. There's no. What am I trying to capture? Is the dichotomy between the It's like the
opposite of a hardship, or opposite of a struggle, except for then I had a struggle.
You did, and that's setting up the experience as well. What flashed into my head was you could have the same scene and you put happy, bouncy carnival music on top of it, and it's really nice and well, some people associate carnival music with evil, but the other side of it is you have a pool scene and they're playing the what is it, the Michael Myers and that kind of it sets the tone of, so the tone of this is very, very opposite of that horror movie setup of something bad is about to happen. It's very much this is all a good thing.
Yep.
I think there's something there. And we want to think of that maybe in a minute in relation to getting stuck, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, because it was an unpleasant experience. But is your brain saying, look at positive expectations and encouragement and failure? I don't know. Or is it looking at difficulty in process of some specific kind? This is where my brain starts going with these different connections. Then do you have any recollection or specific imagery of what the bridge was made of?
It looked like little bricks, like baby bricks, but it was an off-white, and it seemed to be one piece, not actual laid bricks, but it had like a facade of bricks. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
But it also was nighttime, so I saw like off-white, but maybe it was regular white, but because the sun wasn't out, it wasn't exactly white.
Yeah, and that's interesting too. And then I really try to pay attention to the way people phrase things, and I check for clarification because I don't want to assume. I have my ideas, and then you have your experience of it. But
yeah,
I think if I heard you correctly, and if you expressed it correctly, the idea is you knew that it was one piece, but you said it had a facade of having been composed of bricks.
Yeah.
So.
And it was different than the pool. The pool was plaster, which I don't normally swim in a plaster pool. So we have Pebble Tech out here. So we usually swim with like pebbles. Like, I
don't think I've ever heard of that. What is Pebble Tech pool? I'm used to the old concrete pool. You just they blow it in and then you put water in it.
Right. No, like they have those.
Yeah.
And that's what this pool was. It was plaster, not Pebble Tech. Pebble Tech is like grains of sand, except for they're colored, so it could be like blue and white pebbles, or red, white, and blue, or pink and blue, whatever colors you would want it to be. This one was plaster. So, but I normally would swim in a PebbleTech pool, which looks more like the bottom of an ocean than a swimming pool.
That is interesting too. So there's sometimes in images with dreams, if it, let's say in this specific one, it had been the PebbleTech pool, that would make sense in direct connection to your life. It would be a direct representation of, here's the type of experience you usually have in this setting, because that specific thing. But
so this pool was different than a pool I would normally swim in.
Yeah, that stands out to me. That this is distinctly different from your average experience. So there's something in there about its imagining. I don't know if it's the plainness of it, or the idea that from an earlier time in your life. I mean, PebbleTech,
right? Yeah, as a child.
As
a child, we had a big plaster. We didn't have our own pool, but we had a community swimming pool that we went to.
Yeah, that's been my experience. I mean, I haven't been swimming in a few years, but I don't have a pool in my backyard. But
in Arizona, many of the pools, whether it's public or private, are PebbleTech.
Gotcha. Okay. And maybe that's a regional thing too. Cause even I remember, as a kid, 12, 13, my uncle had a swimming pool in his backyard. It just, plaster. I mean, I always thought of it as concrete, but plaster. Yeah.
And this bridge was in there, but it was not it was something that my friends built and put down there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the other thing too. I've got a carrot on that one too. This idea of why did they build a bridge? Why is it underwater? Why are they swimming under it? Why are they encouraging you to follow suit? Yeah, these are all, I don't have answers yet. Yeah, we're getting there. No, but I wanted to focus on that again too. So you've got this, the material of the bridge. You couldn't tell exactly what it was, but it had.
It was like brick-like component, or like facade was bricks, but it was one piece.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to focus on too for just a second.
Kind of like maybe like I want to say like an English cottage, but like the pebbles of a English cottage, like how they like do their pillars and different patterns. It kind of maybe like an old English bridge.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, is if they were kind of uniform bricks or if it was more like a facade of rocks of different sizes.
Well, it was more brick shaped, but they were
irregular.
Yeah, they were irregular. They weren't like identical in each piece.
Yeah, and then that strikes me too. That idea of this facade of bricks, giving it the look of being put together by what are the apparent external components, but that the fact that the thing is all one thing. So we've got one thing that is all one thing, and on the exterior of it, it looks like it's made of many things, but it's not really. There's something there. I don't know if that. Anytime you get a whoa moment, let me know. Like if something clicks for you and you think of something, just jump in.
I think that there's a reason why each of these things appeared. I just don't. I like your ideas of how it's coming together. I just don't actually. I don't know yet.
Usually we got to go through this process of stumbling around in the dark.
The woe so far for me was that it was like a night sky. I'm in a new place, but yet these people are my friends, although I can't identify them. And that I think there might be something with that. I was standing but then when it was time for me to go under the water, I didn't have to like go off into the deep end or anything. I just went straight up and went down and tried to go under the bridge. So
yeah,
it was like all there, but not all there.
That does stand out to me too, is that without in a sense changing location, right where you already are, you're able to proceed with what you were doing, and the environment say changes around you in response to your intent, your action, your choices. There's something in there too. Yeah. That's what I try and do, is all these things are, if I can kind of feed it back to people in a different descriptive form, that often unlocks some connection. Yeah, triggers a connection. Exactly. That's mostly what I'm trying to do with myself as well. But so that's the next thing I was going to get to is, I want to do, we're going to get there. Sorry. More of the encouraging words. There was, the declaration, we built this. So there's something about the dream wants you to, or the thought you're processing wants you to understand this thing that was created came from a friend group that you feel you can trust, and they were not blasé about it. They were very encouraging. They're like, not only, so that's what I was going to get to, is some of the other words they spoke of. You can do it. Encouraging. It's fun. You're going to enjoy it. Give it a try. Test it out. Or when you think of giving something a try, what comes to mind?
Maybe when you say when someone says give it a try, it means that they don't know if you'll actually be able to do it, but they hope that you would do it and that you would get the same experience that they got.
Gotcha. So there's an encouragement with uncertainty in there somewhere. Yeah. I'm not expressing that way. Maybe just.
And it was also like they all did it, and they wanted me to be a part of that happiness, that fun, the experience of it.
That's good. That's good. I don't know that I'm getting at anything in specific. I'm just trying to roll all these ideas around in my brain. What is the nature of, because your dream is having a representation of communication. Someone is saying something to you. They want you to know something. So that idea of being communicated to is important in some way. Otherwise it would just be absent. I've had some dreams where folks say, well, I just knew they wanted me to do this. In your dreams, knowing is as good as seeing. It is what it is. Okay, I knew they wanted me to go, so I went.
I knew that they, like I said, they were diving down and coming back up, and everyone's having fun.
Yeah.
But until they told me what it was and why I should be like excited to try this thing and encouraged it, that this is a positive thing and you're going to want to do it too, I didn't pay attention to it.
That was going to be
experiencing this awesome moment.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions too, is did you know what they were doing before they said it?
I didn't.
So there's kind of an element of mystery to that as well. It's like your brain says, imagine you're in a place with people and it's a good times and you're enjoying it and it's a familiar but new surrounding and you don't really know what's going on until somebody tells you. And when they do, now you're exposed to the idea of, well, what do I want to do about this thing I'm being told, or this new idea that's being presented to me, and you're getting this representation of people you feel you can trust that are having a good time, that have been successful in what they're doing, and they're now encouraging you to give it a try. And that brings us to your experience of going down. Do you remember, say, taking a big breath before you go down, or?
Yep, I took a big breath, and then I like jumped up out of the water a little bit and went straight down and started heading towards the bridge.
Is there anything, any feelings or resonance attached to that idea of jumping up to go down? Does anything come to mind automatically? I mean, was it just?
That's just what I do, and that's just even like in real life. That's what I do. Okay. Before like that's how I get my breath, is I jump up and make sure like I'm clear of the water. I'm not going to suck any water in. I jump up, get my breath, and then go swim or do whatever I'm going to do. But I try to get up away from the water to get a good breath before I go under the water with that breath.
Gotcha. And that feels to me like, that's why I asked, is it feels to me like probably just, well, this makes sense. Well, what do I do before I go underwater?
The only time I haven't done that in my life was swimming in the Caribbean, and the waves were like above my head, and I could not get up to take that full breath. Gotcha.
Yeah, that would one of the reasons I stay out of the ocean. I can't. I mean, I don't mind swimming. Rivers, lakes, beautiful, love it. Ocean, just. And the smell. I don't know. I'm a little sensitive to the ocean smell. And some people love it. Oh, the sea breeze. Like, it's rotting vegetation. It's killing me. But no offense to people. You love the ocean. That's your bag. It's okay. I can't. The briny sea. I can't do it.
Oh, boy.
Oh, and the danger of the waves and the riptides. And I'm just, I'm more of a mountains, rivers type of guy.
Yeah.
Okay, no, so that's your experience of it. You did you have any sense of what you were wearing? Type of swimsuit?
A swimsuit. I wasn't naked.
Fair enough. Could have been. Yeah.
But I didn't have a special suit on or anything like that.
Nothing striking comes to mind.
Nothing that struck. No, I couldn't even tell you if it was a one piece or a two piece.
That might mean something as well. It's kind of where I was getting to. Is like, was this a bikini party time, or was this more of a?
I think there's a mixture of people in different swim apparel, but it wasn't a focus.
Gotcha.
As to like who's wearing what in the pool.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say the absence of awareness of it is indicative of anything, but the fact that it wasn't.
But if someone was naked, I would have noticed.
Right? Yeah, that would have maybe put a different tint on the whole thing. It was a naked pool party. Well, why? But it wasn't. It was more.
No, it was a normal normal wear.
It was a mixed friend group. There was nothing. Yeah. And that also removes maybe leaning into anything overtly or subtextually sexual in the dream is.
Right, yeah.
And even nudity may or may not necessarily be sexual, but.
Right.
You didn't have the sense that it was that type of party either, which might
it wasn't that type of
party, which would mean something else, perhaps. Okay, so you take your breath, you dive down, and how far do you imagine going? 10 feet, it's 50, 1,000.
Yeah, it was probably like 10 to 15 foot range. It was down a ways. Like I said, though, people had done it, and I was standing where they were all coming up and were able to stand. That
is a wonderfully bizarre element. I'm still trying to wrap my brain around it. The idea that you're all standing in the shallow end, and it's in this shallow end that the floor disappears and you're able to swim even deeper if you want to.
Right. If you want to. But that's probably why I didn't even focus on what was happening. What are they doing down there? Because there's a floor. I couldn't see it. And then until they told me, then it was like, oh, I could go down there. Oh yeah, that does sound fun. I wonder how long it will take me to get through this and come up the other side and, laugh with everybody about it.
Yeah, that was going to be a question too. And I get so many ideas. I can't keep track of them all, but I'm glad you brought me back to it. Is this idea of how because you felt they were friendly towards you, trustworthy. It was all good times. But then did you have any thoughts or emotions processing the idea of choosing to join in the fun? Does anything stand out to you about that?
I used to have when I was a child, have tea parties on the floor of the swimming pool, like the public pool. Me and my friends would go down and have tea parties. So I knew I could go down and hold my breath. I knew that I could do it. Yet I really wanted to be like, I conquered the bridge too. I went through the bridge too. Like, okay, yeah, everybody had a fun time. Everybody's at this, event. They're cheering me on. I'm going to go down and be like, I did it too. Like I accomplished something. Although going through this bridge, I don't know what that would accomplish for me in life. It just was something like, well, I could do that too.
Gotcha. And that's what I was looking towards. A fascinating story with the tea parties. I saw it in my head immediately. A couple of girls sitting at the bottom of the pool, holding their breath, the little bubbles trickling up, and they've got the teacups and everything, and they're miming to each other, and you're having a giggle, and you got to shoot for the surface. That's fantastic. And it's interesting that kind of came to mind when you're thinking about this thing. That example of it.
In a plaster pool.
Yeah.
As a child.
May be related, may not, or something about that.
I knew I could hold my breath for a while because I would do that as a child.
Yeah, you have that strong representation of knowing your limits, but knowing your abilities too, and that you wouldn't be choosing to do this if you didn't think there was a chance to be successful. Right. So there's something in there in that moment of choice is an accurate assessment of your own abilities.
In my consciousness, if I take on a challenge, I usually believe that I can accomplish it. Mm-hmm. Or my goal, like if I do a competition and my goal is to be in the top 5, then I go for top 5. I don't necessarily go for first place. I just go for where I consciously believe would be success for me.
Yeah.
Like I compete to myself, not to the whole group, if that makes sense. So maybe that was in my dream, like, well, I could do that and I could be successful at it. It wasn't really to compete with anybody. It was just to have fun and enjoy this with everybody.
For sure. Yeah. And that's also what I was getting down to, is that idea of the motivations. And there's something involved in, also the way you describe it, also successfully conquering the challenge, but also wanting to be part of the group that had done so. There's kind of a wishing to be included, wishing to be, and I hesitate to say things like status, because it wasn't, no one was looking down on you for it. And it wasn't like, if you chose not to do it, they were going to be judgmental.
They would have been okay with me saying no. I felt like,
it's like your own desire for achievement rather than imposed external. This wanting to join with the group is strong in there. So I don't know, just let these kind of things percolate. We'll come back around to it. So, and we're still getting to the experience of diving down. Do you remember how you swam? You're doing the frog kicks, you're doing long strokes. Any experience of that?
I was kicking my legs and kind
of the flutter kick down.
Yep. The flutter kick down. And, I didn't move my arms a lot, but also in real life, I don't move my arms a lot.
Fair enough.
I use my hands, but not my arms. So like, even when I swim, it's more of a leg action for me in real life.
Okay. And that was that's consistent.
Kind of how I swam in my dream.
Fair enough. Yeah. And it might, again, this looking at opposites. If it is consistent with real life, we can kind of shine it on a little bit. If it was distinctly different, now that you mentioned I did frog kick, why did I do that? So I rattle a lot of doorknobs that don't come open to try and get that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
What is your imagery regarding the approach? I mean, as I was going
down, the people, everything was not disappearing. It just wasn't there. Like I didn't see the moon shining on the water. Like I couldn't see the lights that were around the pool anymore. Like I knew I was getting cheered on, but I didn't see the people. I was doing this action. I was just into it.
That is interesting too. Probably a significant feature is like, again, it would have been different had you been able to hear and had a distinct awareness of the other people cheering you on, but the elements external to your immediate focus.
As I went down, that was just all disappearing, and I was focused on the task of, okay, I'm going to go down here. Where am I going? Well, what's the exact, because I didn't really have what's the bridge like? What's how much space am I going to have to get through?
For sure.
Like, I was figuring all that out as I was going down. I was like preparing in my mind, like a plan to get through the bridge.
So you did have kind of in that motion of swimming down, you're already forward focused on how am I going to tackle this challenge?
Yep.
Interesting. So if you would just tell me that again, what were your thoughts as you're approaching?
Well, as I was approaching, I was focused on where am I going? How big is the area that I'm going to be swimming through? I even like kind of paused and looked and like, okay, that's enough for my body to get through. I can make it through that. Kind of planning how much energy and kick I would need to get through, how much effort to get all the way through, and then do I push off the bottom to get back up? Like, how am I going to get back up after I get through? Just basically planning the whole entire dive on my way down. That
is very interesting. This kind of, and just a brief, almost flash in the dream, probably all these thoughts went through your head at once. And this, you would say, probably consistent with your approach to problem solving in real life. Like, I'm going to think this through.
Yes. I say organizing is my superpower in real life.
Nice. I could use a bit of that. I'm more on the abstract, chaotic side, which is funny because I mean, I exist on. I'll show you this. No, I can't show it because it'll whitewash my camera. But I've got a list of like, it's my brain, and then I've got more brains in different places. I've got don't know if you ever heard of the program called Rain Meter. Does that make sense? You ever heard of that, Rain Meter? It's a variety of widgets you can put on your desktop. So I've got like a system monitor that tells me the temperature and my CPU's actions.
Actual rain.
Well, in a way, you can actually, I think that's part of one of the original things is you could have rain in the background falling on your computer, and it has this widget where it just plays something on the screen behind your programs.
Yeah.
But this one has there's one widget that's a notepad, yellow sticky note, and I've got thing like your appointment for us to speak today. You're on my sticky pad. I cannot miss it right there. Big yellow sticky pad. I was going somewhere with that. Oh, thought process, planning, chaos, organizing.
Yep.
Tangent. Back on track. So, when was it you kind of got a impression or the physical structure of it and how it was built came to mind? Were you thinking anything particular about the forward planning process when you were able to see what it was made of?
As I was swimming down, it was coming more into focus, and that's when I started planning and preparing, and that's when I started noticing, like, okay, this is what the bridge is, this is what they were talking about, this is where I'm going to go through, that's the other side I'm going to come out of, and so it was, as I was swimming down and getting closer and closer to it, it was becoming more in focus.
Do you remember which particular part of the planning process you were considering when the shape of the bridge and how it was built, the facade and the knowing that it was all made of one thing? What part of your planning, but was it when you were looking at how big the opening was? Was it when you
right before? Yeah, it was right before. It was like, okay, there's the bridge, and I was swimming closer and closer to it, and it came into focus. Mm-hmm. And that's when I noticed what the structure was, how it was made, and the bricks, but it was all one piece. And I was like, wow, they really like put a lot of energy into this. Like it was like oh wow, this is what they were talking about. Them encouraging me and telling me we built this bridge was it coming into focus under the water and seeing like, oh yeah, that's the bridge they were talking about. That's what they were describing. And although they didn't really give me a lot of detail about what I was about to see, they just called it the bridge.
Mm-hmm. And so, if you help me understand, because here I'm seeing in my head, like you, from the moment you mentioned it was made of little bricks, immediately Legos popped into my head. I was looking at something online earlier with this.
No, it wasn't Legos.
No. This is what came to my mind. But then also the idea of, and okay, so my abstract mind, Legos jumps to Minecraft, and Minecraft, you can build little bridges over canals, and you would put these stair steps and then a flat and then stair steps down. Did it look like a bridge that was smooth, rounded over, or was there steps for walking on, or was there a handrail?
No, it was like a English bridge. Do you know what I'm saying? Like when you see these like stone English cottages, like on a mountainside, that's like all the pieces, but they're not necessarily the bones of it. It's just the parts you see is the, but instead of like rock of an English bridge, like river rock, I think they call it, mm-hmm. It was more of a brick shape. So it had more squared edges, but it was curved in nature.
Gotcha. Okay. I think
there was structure, but artistic at the same time.
Gotcha. So it was also pretty to look at. It was, and you had this impressive.
It was like, oh wow, my friends built that, kind of like, oh yeah, it's coming into focus. Oh wow, that's the bridge. Okay.
Yeah, and you're seeing that it was also a thing of quality, a thing of meant to be aesthetically pleasing, but also functional. Mm-hmm. And this very interesting that it's this. So you would imagine that were it out of the water and spanning some river stream, it would.
I would see it in England in like 1800s, like from my imagination. Hi, baby.
That's her name, baby. Yeah.
Aww.
Okay. Brief story about her. Where'd she get her name? We had a niece. We used to babysit her when she was really, really little. And when she was like 3 years old, she loved, she loved Justin Bieber. And she would sing the Baby Baby song. And so she saw this cat for the first time and she said, oh, baby. And we had just gotten her and that became her name. Aww. So this is the baby girl.
Aww.
Hi. You're going to lay on my notes, aren't you? They all do. Oh, she's doing it. She's going down. We'll just,
Aww.
oh, there you go. There you go. You're going to have to go away. Sorry, everyone listening on the podcast is like, shut up about the cat. Get back to the tree.
That is so cute.
You're going to have to watch the videos because the cats are amazing and they're not going anywhere.
It's awesome.
Okay, baby girl. Move on. I need my coffee. Oh, she's so cute. Value added content. They're going to knock over my coffee cup. No, I will boop you. That's okay. So what was I saying? You're
you want your paper.
You're impressed. I know they want to lay on it. It's okay. You're impressed by the effort, but also the quality of what has been produced by friends. by the concept of a friend group,
right? To
which you wish to aspire in a way. You want to do what they did, accomplish what they did. Something all in those concepts there. What was the experience of heading into the space underneath? I mean, it looked, you were saying it looks to your mind like plenty of room. You're going to fit. No
plenty
problem.
Of room. And I even, my head and torso actually got out the other side, and then I got stuck.
Okay.
And so I was like, wait, I mean, I'm thinking like, my head's out, my torso's out. What could have gotten stuck in my legs that that I wouldn't be able to continue to get out of here and go back up? And I was pushing on the parts of the bridge, like trying to get out, trying to move on, like. But the floor is plaster. It's not like I could like dig something to like give me more room or anything like that. It's like how does part of me fit out, but not all of me fit out? And that's when the struggle happened. I thought, oh, I did it, I accomplished it, I got all the way through, but then I was stuck, and I couldn't go the rest of the way.
So your head comes through. Torso goes through, and did you feel it specifically catching your hips or your legs?
My legs.
Legs.
My legs.
Interesting. Yeah. And this may relate. I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is you've lost some of the function of your legs in life. Is that an accurate? Yeah, but and not even knowing that for certain. That's the first thing that popped into my head. So there could be something. I would put a carrot in that. I don't want to say anything more about it. Just let it percolate in your mind of like why this particular body part trapping you in that location, and you're reaching back and trying to push yourself free of it. What was it's, if you would you got to get down, baby girl. You're killing me. She must have rubbed on the pen while I'm writing. My chicken scratch turned into Sanskrit. Anyway, not to make you dwell on the most unpleasant part, but I gotta see it. I gotta kind of feel it too. What was that struggle like? What were you thinking, feeling? How did you behave?
I was trying to come up with plan B, C, D, E, F. What can I do to get out of here? And realizing that I wasn't going to have enough oxygen, and trying to fight and struggle. Like, okay, I can't dig my way out. I can't push my way out. I'm like trying to like wiggle my legs out, like inch by inch. Can I get my legs out fast enough to be able to get back up? How am I going to get back up to the top before I pass out? Like a whole new set of plans had to happen and occur. Mm-hmm. It wasn't the plans that I went into the bridge with. It was, okay, I am in a situation. How do I get through this? Like as a start of a panic. But yet, can I come up with some things that will help me accomplish this and get back up to the top of the water? And I never, ever got unstuck before I woke up from my dream.
And you were also saying that during this process, there was no one came to your rescue, but there was not even any awareness that they were. There
was no awareness present. Of anybody. Exactly.
There's something in there too of like
I was in the struggle, and I was having to find my own way out.
Exactly, that you're in it alone. It's like once you committed to this path, you had to deal with it.
Yes.
and no one was coming to save you, and not even an awareness that they were there.
And I wasn't even mad that they weren't there to help me. Like I wasn't even, I was just, how do I survive? How do I keep going?
Not even, and that's where I was going too, is like not even looking for that help, just an awareness that it wasn't there maybe, or in the back of your mind, at least enough to be able to report it. But not really even focusing on that. In fact, the opposite of like, I must deal with this specifically. Very interesting on that one. Yeah. In kind of a state of panic, and you had to abandon, I wrote down this idea of, kind of forced to abandon your old plans and consider alternatives in that moment. And the idea that you were going to be the one taking care of it. And then there was a sense of, that lack of oxygen feeling when we're holding our breath for a long time. And that, bam, you wake up.
And then I woke up and it was like,
and then gasping in real life. Yeah.
And gasping in real life for oxygen of like, I wondered in that waking moment, I was like, was I holding my breath for all that? And like you said, it seemed like such a long experience, but it could have been pretty short because you're asleep, you don't know. But it seemed so long, and I kept holding my breath until I had no more air and woke up choking, trying to get oxygen.
And that was the other thing I thought of way back when, like an hour ago almost. When I
really,
went,
wow, time
I know it really does fly. No, these things are fascinating. You get it into the imagination. Was two things I was going to say, but one is that the holding the breath thing. So back when we were talking about physical causes, it could be reflexive as well. What do I mean by that? The idea that it could have been the dream, you were almost awake enough, you're getting that borderland, the twilight state, whatever they call it, like right between sleeping and waking, which is where a lot of dreams seem to happen, especially the ones we remember. And it could have been your breathing difficulty inspires the dream. Could have been the dream was powerful enough in your mind that you actually held your breath.
When I jumped up and went under. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, that could have been no longer than 10 or 15 seconds, long enough for you to start feeling like, I'd like to take another breath anytime now. And then woke up, and this whole dream could have taken place in that 5-10 seconds. Well, who knows? So it isn't necessarily one or the other of like your.
Yeah, I don't know. And my husband, his father passed away last week, and he, from COPD and COVID, and my husband had COVID. So we were staying in separate, he was staying at his dad's house and I was staying at our house. So I was alone, and I woke up like, where's my air? What am I'm all alone. Like there was no comfort.
Yeah.
Except for I'm still breathing. I'm still alive.
Well, you kind of did this intuitively. That's where I was going next. We've been through the dream. Now we start looking at what are some of the real life circumstances you were dealing with. And you were separated from immediate family. You had tragedies happening in your life. Yes. You had problems related to breathing, maybe problems that couldn't be solved. And there's maybe some, I don't know if what I usually ask folks before we get into say phase 3 and we start trying to put it all together, as we're going through the description and I'm giving you feedback and you're opening your mind to seeing, re-experiencing things, did anything come to your mind? What do you think is important about this experience, epiphanies that came to you?
I literally don't know, except for that's why I was hoping that something would come up with this discussion with you as to why, because my immediate thought was like, why was I swimming? Why was I trying to hold my breath in my sleep? I did, like, normally I'm a stomach sleeper or a side sleeper. And I did recognize that when I woke up, I was on my back. Oh, yeah. Which is that's like when your lungs are being compressed the most. It's the hardest to breathe on your back. It is. Yeah. That's where people get a lot of, we talked about, I don't know if it was on camera or not, but the idea of night terrors and the pets. Yeah. So I'm when you're on your back. Yeah. Well, I'm reading all these books and not just night terrors, but what is it? The sleep paralysis specifically. That idea of when people wake up. Yeah, when people wake up and they feel, and it's your mind's going, but you can't move your body. Yeah, and there's a lot of different theories going all the way back to the Greeks, and they said, well, a demon sitting on your chest, the incubus, and that's why you can't. That's why you can't breathe. Right? No. Yeah, no. That's an old idea that has been. Well, that's why the cover of Freud's 1900 book on dream interpretation.
No.
Last night I woke up and my father-in-law smoked cigarettes, and I woke up and like, oh my gosh, like somebody is smoking, and like my husband's he finally came. Last night was his first night home, but I woke up having a hallucination of cigarette smoke. So I'm hoping that my father-in-law is in heaven and he's with God, and
sure,
and he wasn't coming to visit in a negative way.
I would only imagine positive purposes to that.
Right. My dad leaves me dimes in quarters. So
my wife's got something about that with dimes. I think with her deceased older brother from years back. Little remembrances.
Maybe Ken's dad's gonna be like, I'm with you guys. You're gonna be okay.
You're gonna be okay. Yeah, it's not so bad on the other side. Don't worry about it. Well, no.
Smoke.
So I started there with the idea of the description, and that's the best way they could. But they conceptualized daimons as something different. They thought of ideas that came into our mind as almost physical spiritual things. That's why they would say angel? Yes. And so they would say they would say draw no distinction between a good daimon and an evil daimon. It was simply the thoughts which were inspired in us. Yeah, and that's why they conceptualize things as Aphrodite sending arrows to shoot you with an arrow. We are all playthings of the gods. These feelings inspired in us from who knows where, assumed to be a supernatural source. But so you could have evil daimon saying do bad things. You would have good daimon or inspirations or ideas telling you to do good things. And where do they come from? Well, we don't know. So that's how they conceptualize the spirit sitting on this. But we know now, more current, now that we can map the brain and do different things, is that it's more like your physical voluntary control of your voluntary motor control is switched off in sleep. We know that. Otherwise, you'd get up and run around and do everything in your dreams. Some people do, and that's when it's not switched off.
Ambient.
So, no, there is that. And actually, that's why they used to call it somnambulation, which is somnus, sleeping, ambulation, walking, and sleepwalking, somnambulism. I was going somewhere with that. Oh, no. So in sleepwalking, it's the opposite. Your motor control is not switched off, but your brain is asleep. And brain,
like narcolepsy.
Well, that's involuntary falling asleep, but related. You get people who have sleepwalking issues often have narcoleptic issues. That's
what it reminded me of.
Exactly. No, but in sleep paralysis, it's the opposite. Is your brain's waking up, but the voluntary motor control hasn't been restored. So what happens when we're sleeping is you keep breathing. Your lungs work, your heart beats, your liver keeps processing, autonomic nervous system. So the experience that people can't draw a breath is because that voluntary expansion of the diaphragm hasn't been restored in the connection.
I have a disease called RSD.
Yeah.
And the R stands for reflex, and S is your sympathetic nervous system. My autonomic nervous system, it automatic processes that reflex in your body. Mine are haywire. Wow. So crying, digesting food, heartbeat, all of that goes haywire. And it's fluid in nature, so it could happen anytime. So
for sure. And all of that stuff can come out while you're sleeping and can appear in your dreams in terms of physical representations. Until I started reading all these historical documents, I was very much more focused on mental processes and causes. And I had to open my mind a little bit to say it's not dismissive of mental processes to incorporate physical causes. We got pretty far away from that because it used to be everyone believed, well, you had a bad dream because you went to bed on an overly full stomach and ate too much meat, and you should swear off these things and your dream problems will be cured. And we realize it's yes, there's a relationship between disturbances in the body, but we got way far away from it and went too far into the mental side. And I think I'm starting to come back a little bit more and let's look at physical causes and see how they interrelate at the very least.
Yeah.
So I had a point there.
So maybe my mind knows that my body doesn't process correctly. So it gives me a pleasant experience, like this fun pool party.
Very well can be. Yeah.
While
that leans into the wish fulfillment side of dreams, which is also a factor. So many factors, this whole kaleidoscope of different possibilities. I do very much lean heavily into the thought process side of things. Like, this is the brain thinking through something, thinking through something while we're sleeping. That's the something we try to get to. But so I was asking you about specific epiphanies, and you said you didn't have any. So there's some way of looking at this, some connecting of the dots that haven't been put together that gives you a feeling of resonance. That's usually what I'm looking for. It's like, suddenly that makes sense, whatever it is. So that's when I go back to my notes and I start looking for the carrots. And again, I just like to go chronologically, because why not? So it's you're swimming, which has positive associations for you. You're in a positive environment. You're with friends. It's a not just positive. You mentioned party-like atmosphere, but I don't know if that quite captures it either. There's something about this that's more meaningful. Putting you into that space means something. So if you had to describe it in a different way, it's not just positive. It's not just a party atmosphere. It's like another level to it.
Right now they say, like, oh, social distancing. Everybody should be like apart from each other. And I, like, consciously will say, no, we need to be socially together, physically distant. Gotcha. This was an experience in the pool. We were socially together. We were, physically together too. And maybe it's a pool because there's chlorine and that kills all the bugs, and now we're all safe or something. I don't know.
No, these things make a lot of sense. And just by me asking that question, that's kind of where your mind went.
That's kind of what, like, how does this fit? That's kind of, I'm like, a pool is clean. It has chemicals. It's not like a dirty ocean.
Well, for sure. Yeah. Don't drink either one, but still, at least it's not going to get on your skin. It's with the chlorine. It's
cleaning the germs off of your skin.
Yeah. Very, very interesting connection there. So so your brain's saying, look at your need for, desire for, look at how important it is to you to be socially connected. In this time. And there's another layer of that with your husband being absent owing to these external circumstances you can't control. But then also on top of that, the death of a relative, that's going to distance you from them forever. So there's all these elements feeding into that. So your brain wants to say, look at that type of environment. And it's at night. Mm-hmm. At night, does night have any particular associations for you in terms of the difference between night and day? Why not during the day? Why would this take place at night?
I don't know. I mean, the thing I can think of, when my father passed away, it was a traumatic experience, and I found out at like 4 a.m.
Okay.
So, I don't know if it is connected to my father-in-law passing. Maybe it's nighttime because that's when I lost my dad. Although my father-in-law passed away in the daytime.
Sure. Very well could be. It is interesting that thought popped into your head when we're considering it. So there's maybe an element of association with the possibility or even the likelihood that something bad might happen at night. Does that feel significant?
Yeah, every time my phone rings at nighttime.
Gotcha.
Anything, like bad news comes in a phone call at night. But in a pool, it's positive, happy. There's no phones around. There's not even, people don't even bring their phones into the pool.
Yeah. And interesting, no representations of external communication devices. This is kind of an enclosed social atmosphere. You are connected to other people in that moment, but it's just within this
one space.
Boundaries of a certain kind. So that is interesting. So it's like, imagine your desire for connectedness, socialization, being socially together is being fulfilled in a fun way that does not feel threatening, but it is at night. There's an element It's like your brain's saying there is an element of distant danger. The night sky is far, far away. It's just a little ominous.
Yeah.
And that is interesting. I might even say the dream was maybe foreshadowing the trouble that was coming. Like maybe it wouldn't have happened if it was daylight. I don't know if there's something there.
Or maybe the people could have seen that I was struggling to help me.
Yeah.
If it was daylight.
Very much so, yeah.
But it wasn't... yeah, it's is
there something know. Is there something to that idea with you of being seen struggling? Just that idea?
Well, in life, when I'm struggling, I don't normally publicize it. I share my journey of health and the challenges I go through and the struggles, but I share my good stuff in the bad times and my bad stuff in the good times to help remember, like, this is a great time, but I accomplished getting through that struggle.
Yeah.
Or in the struggle, I know that this is a hard time, but there's positive to come. So I kind of share publicly opposite of what's happening with me.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think that's a very relevant factor. My brain kind of lit up with that one. The idea of struggling alone, that is almost, well, in the dream, it seems like it's not a choice, that it is happening to you, but there is. But
I do choose it because I've lost many friends to suicide or their disease takes them. Yeah. And I don't want to take somebody else's hope away from them. Yeah. So that's why I don't like to share my challenge when I'm actually going through the challenge. That's when I'm like most quiet, or I'm like trying to cheer myself on.
For sure. And there's something there in my mind where I'm going to with that is I'm exactly the same way. In some ways it's maybe I'm too self-critical and I attribute it to pride. I don't want to be seen as weak. I'd rather suffer privately for the sake of my ego, which makes it hard to reach out to people when I need it. But then there's the other flip side of that, not flip side, but concomitant factor of I don't want to be a burden on anyone too. This is my problem. It's not theirs. Even though we're all told, please reach out to me if you need help, or it's a good thing to reach out for help. I still struggle with that idea of asking for help. I don't want to be a bother. It's not your problem. And I don't want to appear weak. I get stoic, stiff upper lip, all that good stuff. So I don't know if any of this is resonating with you in that experience.
It is, but I am kind of opposite. I say that there's great reason for hope because there is help. All you have to do is reach out and seek it. Nice. Yeah. And like, that's kind of like a motto that I live by. I don't know if I dream by that. Maybe. Because in my dream, I did not reach out and seek out help or say, splash the water. I was literally trying to come up with my plans of let's try this to get out. Let's try this to get out. And what do I need to do to help myself? Instead of reaching out and seeking help.
There is something in there. That's kind of where I was going with that too, is this idea of the dream seems to be showing you a representation of struggling alone, no help coming, and not even looking for it, really focusing down on taking care of it yourself. Yeah. And that doesn't not angling towards being judgmental on that, because sometimes there are times when you should reach out because really you can't handle this on your own. And there's a lot of times where this is your mess. You got to clean it up yourself. And even if it's a struggle, it's difficult, you got to put in the work yourself too. So it's not a moral judgment either way on that one, but it is interesting. Yeah. That the dream thought process wanted to show you a situation where there's like not a lapse in judgment, but a mistaken assessment of ability, a desire to accomplish something, to be socially connected, and a failure of assessment in the results showing you didn't think this through. It wasn't as big as you thought it was. You got yourself stuck because of this path you chose to take. So if you think of it that way, like as the story arc of the dream, is anything coming to mind?
That makes sense. Well, and in life I've had, and since becoming disabled, it changed my whole life. So time's different, everything's different. Yeah. But also, like, there's only been a couple of times where I've reached out to my circle of friends to say, hey, I need help. And both of the times that I did reach out, soon after, I was no longer friends with that person.
Wow.
And so, like, I could be there to help them with what they needed help with, and was. But then when I needed that help, so maybe in my dream, I didn't even I'm like, I'm in this, I got to figure it out, because when I have reached out, it's ended that social connection, which was very sad.
Yeah. And it is interesting, this dream showing you that as you went to approach this problem, the possibility of external help or social connection disappeared. And it was just you. You're going to imagine you're in this struggle by yourself. I am going
to accomplish it until I could.
You're going to have to figure it out yourself. And indicative of your thought process too, of like, there was not immediate panic. There was an immediate reassessment of like, all right, plan A out the window, plan B, what are we going to do? How am I going to handle this? And not yet that fork in the road of seek help, fix it myself immediately.
Right. I never seeked help. I never reached out. I literally tried to do it on my own.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I wonder, would I have made it to the surface on my own? I'll never know, because I woke up.
Yeah. And that's a tough thing too, is how these dreams end. Sometimes dreams end on a specific note because that's the end of the thought process. The brain's not showing you an answer because you don't have one yet. Sometimes that's the way it is. It's a little more tricky with these situations of gasping for breath, possible physical complications. I try and take all this into account, because you've got this situation where maybe you woke up because the dream was done and it wanted you to stop, and that's the full picture. Or it actually got interrupted by this holding your breath or breathing difficulty in your sleeping state.
My brain was telling me breathe, but in the situation I was underwater. If I took a breath,
right,
I would have drowned.
Yeah.
So I couldn't do it under the water. My brain was like, but you're not underwater.
You want to get down, Boo Boo? I think he's done. Aww. This is peanut butter. Oh, your peanut butter.
Peanut butter.
He wants to go get some water.
Everybody loves peanut butter.
I know. I probably shouldn't even mention it, but that's a hilarious name for a dog. I didn't name him, but everyone can make that joke in their own heads.
Yeah.
We call him Little Peanut Buddy.
Oh.
We call him Peanut. Come here, Peanut. Or we say Butters. And that makes me think of South Park, but
yeah.
Where was I going with that before he wanted to get up? Can you remind me? Damn, I lost it. What were you saying? Oh, you lost it too? Yeah. Now we're looking at the story arc.
I felt like a squirrel for a second. Like,
me
dog.
Too. I know. No, it's one of my favorite jokes is how many attention deficit disorder kids does it take to screw in a light bulb? Want to go ride bikes? That's one of my favorite jokes. I love it.
That's awesome.
That's me. Oh no, we were talking about the idea of was the dream over? Was that the full
I don't know if the dream, I know that I didn't have a resolution. Did I survive it? Did I accomplish it? I don't know. I don't, and I in awake right now in this moment, I don't even know if I could like fill in the blank just for fun. Because I don't know which is the right answer to have. Did I wake up because I literally was holding my breath, or my lungs were being compressed, being on my back, and it was a reflex? Or was it I got stuck in my dream and it's an area I need to work on in real life?
Yeah, that's what I'm weighing and balancing in my head. Is it seems a 50-50 split, but it would be, I think,
it's worth exploring.
That's what I'm thinking, is like, I don't want to be dismissive of it and say, well, you just woke up before you can figure it out. But I don't want to necessarily say that wasn't the reason. So it's like, I like to be very cautious with things, throw out ideas, but it seems more generally productive to lean into the idea that was the end of the thought. that's why, not because that's necessarily the most likely, but because it's the most potentially productive line of reasoning that I would lean towards it, is that, you're all of these elements at once. The idea of feeling disconnected from people, wanting to be back in social connection, wanting to achieve and accomplish at the level of your peer group, in a way that joins the fun. You see them. There's a sort of celebration in success. That's kind of what I was looking for with the idea of looking at different ways to say party atmosphere. It's celebratory of success, and there's that iconic representation too, and that it's also we haven't gotten really into the idea that it takes a deep dive, so to speak. It takes this idea of going beneath the surface down to somewhere to find the challenge or to address the challenge. And
the bridge is the symbolism of the bridge to me is like the connection of two places. But this was connected to itself.
And connected to the bottom of the pool, connected to the place where the deepness,
the happiness is. The water to me is I guess the people are happy. The people brought the happiness. They created and made the happiness and the fun. And they even created this artistic activity that we all got to participate in.
Yeah, I think that is a very significant element too. That's why I was coming back to, like, the idea that we built this bridge. It's like we created a challenge that didn't exist. We created a fun experience that didn't exist until we willed it into existence. So there's this. You
want to dive. You want to get to that.
And then you've got to go deep, so to speak. You've got to get underneath this. There's lots of metaphors underneath the surface, diving deep. There's getting to the bottom of something, which is a lot of ways of these are exploratory or searching, seeking, desiring behaviors or metaphors. So there's it's the idea of reaching for something more, deeper understanding, we would say, or digging deep within ourselves to pull out the success that we know is there, perhaps. Things like that. I was going somewhere with that too. In the dream, I believed that I was going to be successful. I believed that I could do it until I got stuck, until I couldn't. I believed I could. For sure. Yeah. So there's these, the other thing that I was thinking of is not just building physical obstacles to challenge us to success, but also invented standards. Why bother swimming under a thing at the bottom of the pool? It's because it was a standard. Standard's not the right word, but like almost an arbitrary created goal. Yeah, that didn't exist independent. It's something that was specifically manufactured to create an opportunity for success in a specific way, and specifically created by people. So there's a different thing of challenging people's expectations, the wrong word, but versus nature. There's conquering nature, then there's conquering our own self-selected challenges of different accomplishments. I don't know if any of that's speaking to you in any specific way. and I do like to do accomplishments. I like to celebrate an accomplishment. I was in a wheelchair for almost 7 years. So prior to that, as I said before, I did cheerleading and dance and gymnastics. I was very athletic, and then I couldn't do that anymore. It was taken away. So then all my dreams tended to revolve around choreographing and me physically dancing, like dreaming about choreography. And then I started actually in my dreams starting to dance again. This is kind of like, it wasn't really about swimming for me. It was about being social. It was about having fun, and all these people were around and enjoying and feeling like that was an accomplishment now. Very much so. Yeah. I'm very similar to that too. I'm activity oriented socializer. So I wouldn't just go to someone's house and hang out and have a beer and talk. I'm like, what are we doing here? I don't know how to do this, whatever this is. But if you you got to build a fence, I'm there, and we can crack a beer and have some pizza afterwards, but we're building the fence, and we just talk about whatever comes up. And then you celebrate,
we built a fence.
Exactly. Yeah, but just like, to me, I don't understand the purpose of just talking. I feel like I'm having a great time talking to you. We're doing the dream thing. If we were just kibitzing, I'd be like, I don't know what to say. I got to go. It was nice.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's very awkward for me too. So there's, having a goal, having a purpose, and it's in a way, it's a manufactured goal. Here we set up this thing where there's a real dream to look at, but neither one of us has to care about it.
But that resonates with me, is like the manufactured goal is, hey, let's try this and see if we can accomplish it. Yay, we did. Like that's, I like to say I'm not a human being. I'm a human doer.
Right? Where they say, I'm not a human being, I'm a human doing. I've heard it.
I'm a human doing.
Doing. Yeah. Act without acting. Very Taoist. I love it. Yeah.
I like to do. And when I can't do, it's like, oh, well, I got to find a way to do it. And so maybe that's what the bridge was connecting me back to social connection or interaction.
My thought that just kind of formed itself in my head just now is this idea of what you've got is kind of a representation of setting yourself a challenge that you think you can do based on the expectation of others that you find out in the middle of it you weren't up to.
Yep.
And that's so
exactly what happened.
What do you think about that? Is that something that's been on your mind lately? Assessing future plans or
It is like, I know, like I'm supposed to be this cheerleader of hope and do all these activities, but then people started asking me, what are you going to do in 2022? That's like, Thanksgiving time. They start asking, what's your resolutions going to be
for next year? Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know. It's a blank slate so far.
Gotcha.
Like, some years I'm like, oh, I'm going to write a book this year, or I'm going to do this event or activity. 2022, I have no idea.
Okay.
What I'm going to do in 2022.
That might have been the context for the dream, on top of the social distancing, the separation from your husband, the death of a person. All of these things bring it to mind. It's like, what am I doing? What do I want? What goals am I going to set myself? Yeah.
Yeah. And I still don't know what I'm going to do for 2022, but friends keep asking, like, what's your next thing? Where are you going? What is happening? And I'm like, I don't know. I literally have been such an organized planner, preparer, communicating to what's the purpose? What's the activity? Where am I supposed to go?
That throws you into the deep end. Looking at the future and seeing it blank. Whoa, I'm out of my depth. Suddenly.
Yeah.
Nice. The first thing that popped into my head when you were saying that is all these people are asking me. The first thing I thought was, what do you think I should do? Why don't you tell me? What do you think I should do? That's kind of turn it back on them. Not in a malicious way, but in a I got nothing. Tell me.
I got nothing. Help me.
Yeah. That might be part of it.
I'm going to use that. maybe they'll help me spark an idea of what I want to do. Yeah.
There's a guy on Twitter that I come across every once in a while, and he almost every single day says, what's on your mind for videos today? Because he does, he's on Twitter, but he's on YouTube. That's a great way. What's the audience interested in? And it's not just feeding them. Well, it is, but it's not pandering as much as. I always
saw myself as a creator. Yeah. And in my dream, I was not the creator.
Yes, that's another important element too. This is this standard or activity or something else has been created by other people, and you could be cautioning yourself, be careful of attempting to meet other people's expectations, because you might get yourself into more trouble than you think. There's some element of that representation there too.
Yeah, that connects.
You had a moment there with that feeling?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Now we're getting somewhere. I thought I wasn't going to be able to deliver for you here. I'm like, looking at it, nothing's.
No, that's it. I've been the creator, and all the people in my life right now, except for my siblings, have been in my life for only since I've been disabled. Like I have one friend that's still close that is from before that, and everybody else doesn't really know. All they've seen me as is this creator, and I went through trauma and tragedy, but kept creating all the way through. And now I'm at a point where, okay, I create, like, can someone else create something? Like, what else is there? Because I am at this point of, I don't know what that is going to be next.
Yeah. And there'd be maybe a mixed desire in there too. At one point, not desperately, but eagerly looking for someone else to create and even open new doors for you that you hadn't considered. But on the other side of it, this concern that anyone but you creates might put you in a situation you're not up to the challenge for. So I know I get that too, as well. It's like,
and then I don't want to let them down. Like, you created this thing. How am I'm going to let you down?
Yeah, that's a big fear too. And so there's a lot of metaphors in being stuck in a say a dangerous situation. And I don't know that the drowning is a very powerful metaphor as well, but and that's just to maybe communicate the seriousness of the seriousness of your fear, how seriously you take the fear of failure in a way. Like, failing equates to drowning, deadly. And that may be, and again, I hesitate sometimes to when I throw all these ideas out there, is I don't want people to say that is necessarily prescriptive rather than descriptive. I try not to leave people thinking this is what you should believe, this is what you think definitely, or this is what you want to do. I'd like them to consider the different ways the brain is describing how it thinks and what it thinks, if that makes sense.
It does make sense.
I had a whole point to that. I guess it was in the idea of, like, when I throw out ideas like this is your brain relating failure to dying, to literal dying. Maybe yes and no, not necessarily, but in that kind of idea, I hate to be. But
I don't see it as me dying. I see it as the activity dying, or the goal dying.
Yeah, which is very
change.
Very painful. The death of a dream, so to speak, the death of a desire. There's something powerful in the fact that we can let our ideas die for us, so we don't have to die in the process of testing everything. We can put it through mental loops and go, if I reach into the fire, I'm probably going to burn my hand. Maybe I don't want to do that. So we let that idea die so that we don't have to actually burn our hand.
Right.
So this
very interesting.
Yeah. And so I try not to leave people with supernatural feeling of be careful of swimming pools, like from this one, or don't attempt certain things because you might end up in a situation you can't handle. It's more your brain saying, what if, and
be ready for having to change or adapt or find another way.
Yeah. And the idea that this dream stuck with you is like, carry this idea going forward. And I'd like to use the metaphor of percolating. You got to let the coffee drip through the ground. So this is the ideas percolating, and it's going to be a building block in a way. We haven't even gotten to like why the bridge was built that way. But this general concept is like, okay, carry this forward in how you assess your next adventures. Would be kind of the way I would describe, or the reason I would give behind why the dream stuck with you and why it was important to maybe take a look at. I feel like I'm rambling again. I don't know if I've had enough coffee this morning.
Well, now you have me thinking of why they build the bridge that way.
Mm-hmm. So, I really did want to get to that too. Of like, I think there's something to the fact that it is all one piece. You have a knowing that it is a solid structure that has a facade of being put together of individual pieces. So there's something there in the metaphor of something that appears to be constructed of multiple things, but really is one thing in total. I don't know if that inspires any thoughts in you. I don't know what to make of it. That's
the only thing that it like kind of correlates to in life for me is when I talk about the chronic pain community, I kind of look at us as we're all a piece of a puzzle. Gotcha. And we all make a big picture, but each of us needs an individual treatment and way of doing things. Yet, if you take one of the pieces out, the whole picture is not there anymore. So it takes all of us to create that picture. Maybe also, I would, if to be in awe and wonder of like, oh, that was crafted really nicely. They really took a good attention to detail to put this together. and it's creative and structurally sound and all these things, it would have to be something different than I would do to impress me. Like, gotcha. Oh, I could do that, but this is like better than I could do.
I that sparked a resonance with me of the idea of, I've attempted to write a novel a couple times, like a sci-fi fantasy crossover novel, and I get bored with it because I know the story. I'm not impressed with my own work, and I can no longer tell if it's good anymore, or if I'm bored because it's dumb, or if I'm bored because I know how it goes. I lose perspective on my own abilities because I'm too inside of it. That just occurred to me as you were saying that.
Yep, that's and that's kind of where I feel. That's kind of how I feel like creativity going into 2022. What's your big thing? I don't have a big thing for 2022.
Oh yeah.
I'm hoping somebody else will step up and I can be like, "Yay! You're awesome! Like, look what you did.
For sure.
Let me help. Let me be a part of that."
This is also one of the key reasons I rely on my guests to be interesting, because I got nothing. This is not a creative endeavor for me. I'm just the sounding board guy. You know, someone said recently.
But that's what we sometimes feel about ourselves. But then you look at it and you like, help me go through this whole process. So you're doing something creative and helpful.
I do have a kind of like ironically faux humility. Funny thing, which is like, I understand. Yes, I have some skills, but I'm not too full of myself. But I am actually good at kind of what I do. And look at me being so humble. And then that's where the ironic faux humility thing comes in. I'm like, I'm not really faking it, but it's a mixed bag of my own. You know, not trying to be too full of myself and a big hair, but not a big head. But also trying to just genuinely value what I can bring. It seems to be working, and I get reinforced in this every time I talk to someone and they're like, wow, I saw things I couldn't or have seen on my own. I'm like, okay, I'll take it. Little pat on the head. Good job.
Yep. And I do shake the palms.
Yo, for sure.
Cheerleading palms. Yeah.
Well, speaking of getting something useful out of it, we can keep looking at a couple more elements if you think something is relevant, or we can wrap it up either which way. I mean, we've been going about hour and a half. I am willing to keep going. I don't mean to keep you all day. I'm easy either way.
Sure, we can do a little bit more. I'm liking this exploring.
Yeah, I don't. So
take another step.
Do any elements of the dream stand out to you that we haven't addressed yet? Like when you think of that idea of what are we missing, that might inform you of how to proceed. So if we have the general idea of how you're analyzing this problem, what do the elements of the dream maybe tell you about how to make use of the dream experience? That's not something I often get to with people, because I often don't know what to say. But it's a lot of times it's these individual little, like the idea of the pool being not of one material but another. And the bridge itself, like what came to mind, sorry, I ask you a question, then I ramble. What came to mind with the composition of the thing, as you were saying, is this idea of a collective category being made of individuals, and that there was something of a surface level nature of it. Like what it is one thing, although it appears to be many pieces.
Right. Something
in there. I don't know if that brings
anything to mind. I remember you asking about the bridge and like, could you go over it, or where there's stairs like a normal bridge, and I never got to see all that there was of the bridge. I didn't swim, like I didn't inspect the bridge. I only had enough air to like fulfill my portion of what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
So, but I remember like seeing it and going, oh, there's the bridge. Oh, wow, it's coming into focus. There it is. And wow, they actually put that together real nice. Oh, I can fit through there. Yeah, I definitely can accomplish this. Because if I got to the bridge and thought, I can't accomplish this, I would have just gone right back up.
Fair enough. Yeah. But it's also interesting. Go ahead.
I didn't see the part that a normal person would use to go over a bridge.
Yeah.
I was going under the bridge. I was coming in from like a side angle of the bridge. So I never saw how a normal person would use the bridge, only how I was going to use the bridge.
Yeah. And there was very much a task focused urgency to it. Like the dream didn't show you going down to investigate the overview first. Like you could have made just a flyby, so to speak, underwater, and let me appreciate how beautiful it is. Let me look at it from different angles. Let me see what it's made of. It was very, very much task focused. So maybe there's something there.
But I still had the thought of, wow, this is good. This is creative. Oh, wow, they did a great job on this.
That's what I would say about that. That element of it is the thought flickered through your mind. It was not expanded upon to appreciate the quality, to look at it from different angles, to just kind of enjoy the moment in a way. It was more like, I need to assess this from a very practical. Go ahead. You had a moment again?
I just brought a fun. When I was coaching when we would go on an away game, I would make an agenda for my team members, my student athletes, and I would literally make it a number on the list, like, number 1, pack your uniform, number 2, all the things. And I would literally make it on there fun. Like that was a task that they were supposed to do was
item number 8, stop and enjoy the moment. Which is good if you're a very, very detail-oriented planning type person. Sometimes you got to schedule. Now, it was that Saturday Night Live. Now is the time on Sprockets When We Dance.
Yes.
I love that.
Except for our task was to go and perform and dance. So
but dance may not be relaxing in that moment. Yes.
Yeah. So, but I would literally put fun on the agenda. Like that was something that I was like, don't forget to have the moment because again, you never know when you're going to end up not being able to dance or do whatever task is in front of you.
For sure.
And all of a sudden you're in a wheelchair or whatever your limitation is.
That is a powerful lesson too. And something you can bring from experience of like, don't forget to enjoy the things you can while you can. Yeah.
Taking in the scene was that's beautiful. Wow. That was checking off number 8, fun, have fun.
And on to number 9.
Yeah. Now on to number 9. How do I accomplish this?
That just reminded me of, okay. So, I don't know if you got Netflix, there's the Netflix series Lost in Space. They have the third and final season. Now that I know that it's the final season, I'm ready to begin. I think I'm on episode 3 or 4, no spoilers, but there was in one episode, a checklist, and at the bottom of the list was retrieve the blue bag from locker A24. Very last item on the list. And what was in there after 15 different items? It was a bag of Oreos. It was like, now celebrate. You've finished the list. Last item on the list, eat the Oreos and enjoy. Yeah. Fantastic. It made me think of that, this discussion. I
remember the Oreos. I don't want to give
no spoilers. But now that it comes to mind, that's fantastic because you got and there's different ways of there's people who are very, and I hate to do everything as dichotomies, but there's very often you can look at anything as a dichotomy. Highly organized people, highly disorganized people, each have their benefits, yin yang. Yep. So for highly organized people, you probably do need to schedule time for fun. For the highly disorganized in the moment, I'm always having fun type of person, they might want to make a list once in a while and so they can stay focused. So it's good to know yourself, and that this, again, free from moral judgment. You should be better than this. Know your style, know what works for you. If you need to schedule fun, don't forget to schedule fun. Put it on the list. Make time for the good things.
Exactly. Yeah. And that was had my fun. I saw what I'm doing. This is, I took in the beauty. Now let's get down to it.
For sure. Yeah. And then if we look at that in terms of going forward, how do I put this to use? Probably part of assessing what you want to do, setting goals for yourself, is going to be, am I going to enjoy this experience? Is this something I want to do because I think I should, obligation oriented, or is this something I'm going to feel passionate about and appreciate the beauty of something I'm creating? I'd say that's a maybe important idea to keep in mind going forward.
Yep.
Yeah, something like that.
Absolutely.
That would be a lesson from the dream, I suppose, at least from what it showed you. And and that broader idea of setting goals for yourself because you care, not because someone else, even if what someone else created was beautiful, it's got to be something you actually care about, something you're actually invested in as well. Not just an arbitrary goal to have a goal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I agree.
But throwing it open to other people is like if I put a list of all the books I could edit and release, and I did a poll, and 500 people said do this book next, I'd probably do it. That's what people are interested in. That's what I was getting to with the guy that asks what videos to do. It's not a pandering of like, I'll do anything you want, just like me. It's like, what are you interested in? What does my audience want to see? What am I going to pick the thing they don't want to watch? So knowing your audience too, and what they're interested in terms of giving them something they'll find entertaining and informative is key to me. I had a point to that as well. I just rambled. Sorry.
That's okay. I've enjoyed our time together, and also meeting Peanut Butter and Baby.
I know. Oh, my little animals. So that's why everyone should support the channel. I buy their food with your support.
There you go.
If you love my animals, give me money, please. Well, I think, sorry, shameless.
That's awesome.
Right?
Right now, if you're listening, as soon as we're done, give him 5 stars. Let's let him
like, share, subscribe.
Feel the love and support. Yeah,
exactly.
Let's all gather around and cheer on Benjamin.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Well, were there other elements, or you think we got a pretty good
I think we rounded it out pretty good right there, and I have a lot to think about, and I'm definitely going to go back once this airs and listen and watch a few times and try to see if other things pop out or jump out at me, and where I should take them, where I see myself going.
Sure. Yeah, I've had people listen back
in this.
And find new information. What I used to do was debriefs of my own. I would go back and I would listen to it again, and I should ask that question. I didn't phrase that correctly. What I meant to say. I would write essays, and I just couldn't keep up with that. It was too much.
You do that. That's so interesting because, like, as a planner, that's something that I do. Like, if after an episode, I'll go back and watch it at least once, but usually a few times, and do that same kind of evaluation. But I've talked to other creative people that are like singers or dancers and performers of any kind, which I see you as a performer, as a podcast host, and they say, "Nope, I do it. I'm done." And I move on to the next creation. And I think it's interesting to see like how people do it differently.
Yeah, I started that, and I would like to give that to people and to myself in terms of reviewing. And there's some people that they go back to it to be critical of themselves. And it's more of like learning how to do it better and giving, and I considered it value added content for the audience too, of like, not only that, you probably have your own idea of what you think I did wrong or what you would have asked instead. Read my debrief and see if I covered the base. If I didn't, leave your comment below, all this kind of stuff of like engagement and contributions and learning from their feedback. Yeah. It was just too much work. It would take me, I'd have an hour and a half, 2 hour conversation with someone. It would take me 4 or 5 hours to go through it, listen to it, stop, write down my notes, play something back to make sure I heard it correct. I was like, I don't have time. Got to do other stuff. And that's why I was like, maybe I'll put more effort into the books. I should be editing books during this time. So, but speaking of books, you said you did. You were an author, and I don't think we mentioned a book title. What do you got out there?
I have 9 books out there.
Oh, shit.
4 of them I co-authored, and 5 I did on my own. And
very cool.
They range in topics from good sex to a children's book, to navigating the minefield of the health system, to my personal journey, to I did a book with my father before he passed away called The Wisdom of Ingle, which is 5 generations of stories that have happened to our family.
Wow.
And life lessons that we took from those. And we actually used that at his funeral to help myself and my siblings grieve through the process of losing him, because he was the cornerstone of our family. So. Oh,
for sure. Oh, that's What is that I heard recently? It's like try to aim for being the strongest person at your father's funeral. And then that goal of being that kind of person will lead you to a certain kind of inner strength. And that's, I wish way back in the very beginning you said, "Oh, and I'm an author." I'm like, wonderful, moving on. I didn't even ask, but I'm glad we got to it. That's great stuff. I'm gonna make sure to put a link in the description below to available on Amazon or.
Yep, okay. Amazon and any bookstore really. If you go in and ask for the books, they can get them. So they all have ISBNs and all that. So
Wonderful.
Some stores haven't. Library. There's even some libraries, if anybody uses those antiquated systems anymore.
I was reading about that recently. Libraries.
Yeah, there's libraries that carry some of my books, so you can even get them there.
Right on. And I'll tell the audience once again, that's Barbie Ingle, BARBYINGLE, BarbieIngle.com. And then on Amazon, again, all these links will be in the description below. I'm going to do the housekeeping thing one more time here. Hey, please stop what you're doing. Like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. Always need more volunteers to share their dreams. Support my work, direct donations, coffee mug, t-shirt, tote bag. Also 10 currently available published works of historical literature. You can tell I'm reading this off a script because my memory is crap. Working on book 11, aiming for an audiobook release at the same time. Give me feedback on the audiobooks. Do you enjoy my reading style? Maybe that sucks too, and I should change something. I have a reason I read them the way I do, but I'm also going to try something different on the next one. But anyway, just experimenting, trying different things. That's enough of the housekeeping. And I'm going to say once again, thanks to our friend Barbie Ingle. I've really enjoyed it. Again, short dream, fantastic conversation about very meaningful and important things, I think.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Benjamin.
Good deal. Then the last thing to say to the audience is, hey, thanks for listening.